We are live. Thank you all for tuning in. This is Chats During Naps, where it's the only show that happens during nap time. So fingers crossed, both of our children will stay asleep so that we can conduct this interview. I am wearing one on my back as we speak. So hopefully this rocking sensation won't distract you all and it'll keep him asleep. So let's get started. Patrice, thank you so much for joining the show. We are
You're
so
so
excited to have you.
welcome. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so can you tell our audience a little bit about who you are and your business?
Yes, so I'm Patrice. I'm excited to meet you all. I am the founder and CEO of Successful on Social, and my role is a social sales strategist. Say that 3 times fast. And that just means I am the guru of all things social sales. If you have a business, a passion, a plan, and you want to monetize it online, whether it be Instagram, whether it be Facebook, whether it be through email marketing or even Facebook, Instagram ads, like that, I'm who you come to. And my role is to help take your business through a sales funnel, which is a fancy way of saying I'm going to take your ideal client from stranger to loyal returning client. So that's my role.
Right. No, that's awesome. And you mentioned email selling as well. And so I know a lot of people are tied to ads and creating a social feed on Instagram that turns, watchers into buyers. But email marketing, I feel, doesn't get enough airspace.
It does not. And
Right.
it's the other half of your sandwich. You don't want to just have ham and mayonnaise and bread in one hand. Like you want the other half. And email marketing
Right.
is really a coffee date. I think of it as a coffee date you have. Like after your ideal client knows who you are and you know them, that's that coffee date you have with them virtually to really get to know them and show them that I get you and I have a solution for you. So online, we think every post that we see that everyone sees it, right? We just think, oh, I posted it, the world knows. Maybe 7% of your audience saw that post. So if you're relying on
Right.
your socials, and I mean, it requires engagement. I mean, we can talk all day about what your page
Sure.
needs to be optimized. But if you are just staying and saying, I hope they click my link to book me, that's a very big gap that we're leaving on the table.
Right. Now, I know some entrepreneurs are intimidated by email, right? Like, what do I email people? I don't want to bother them. Another thing is, how do you even grow an email list? There's so many different questions. There might be some confusion around that. Um, when and also open rates, right? We hear that open rates for email can be very low. How do you help entrepreneurs from getting discouraged when it comes to growing their email?
Sure thing. So I want you guys to think about your client experience as a marathon and not a sprint. And I think when we think
Mhm.
about it as a sprint, we're like, well, I need to go right now. You need to set up right now. And especially if we talk about high ticket, right? Like as you start to move
Right.
towards just having and mastering client interactions and closing sales to saying,
Mhm.
I want more money if you're a client, you really got to get comfortable with that middle ground. That middle space starts to
Right.
expand. So I've seen lots of entrepreneurs, and kudos to you for saying, I want to have double the income this year and I want to triple my impact. And you can do that, but you have to understand that middle ground where you are just having a conversation. So my answer to them is think about email as a conversation. And I take that coffee chat to heart. What would you say to them if you were having coffee? Would you tell them about your winter break? Would you tell them a little bit about your kids? Like we're here chats during nap. We share some things about our children. Maybe you do that. Maybe it's on brand for you. Maybe on brand for you looks like we just hit our highest, conversion month, and I want to tell you more about the inners of my biggest month. Like, what would you share with someone that is sitting across from you at a table? And you can have that be a series of emails. Maybe you wouldn't type a super long conversation out right through coffee. You would just kind of have little snippets that you would say,
Right.
we talk about this for about 10 minutes, and maybe this for 2 minutes, and maybe this for 5. And that's what you want your emails to look like. So, take the stress off. It's just your opportunity to show, to build like, know, and trust. And we say that all the time in social, right? But the same thing for email. You just have a longer form to talk to them.
No, that's those are such good points. Because especially new entrepreneurs, and I'm sure you've seen this, they're so eager to get that sale, right? You go, hi, it's like, I liken it to meeting someone in a grocery store. You go, hi, how are you? They're like, let me tell you what I'm selling. You want to buy this? And you're like,
no, I don't.
Could you pass the oranges? So what intentions or goals have you set for yourself and your company this year?
So I feel like I'm like the black sheep a little bit, because my intentions are more about my time than it is my income this year. Because as moms, as again, you hop in entrepreneurship, you hop in super enthusiastic, and this is actually my 9th year in business in 2021. So now that I've been here for a while, I'm like, I really do not want my children to look at me as if I've gone more than I was from a 9 to 5. And that really can, if you're in the thick of it, you're like, okay, we're grinding and we're moving. And I'm like, please be quiet. My mother's on the call. And I want to make sure I can be really intentional about my family and having my business support that vision versus me saying my business is to support my family vision. So I'm switching gears a little bit. And through that, I want to build that true 4-hour work week. So what I'm teaching my clients right now is how can we create less content? Like, we literally are like content machines. And for me, it's where I create so much content for my clients that like my social media is like ghost town right now. I'm like, we gotta change that. Like, I want to make sure I'm present, even though I'm grinding it out for them. And so just 4-hour work week is my goal. How can I grind out those 6 figures once again, but do it in a space where it's a 4-hour work week? I have such a unique flow and a feel good business that I can show up really fully in those 4 hours. And I have a great team that I've built. We can talk team building if you want to, but the team aspect is what I am really focusing my energy on in 2021, so I can fulfill my vision, but not have to be present for every moment of it.
Right. No, thank you. Thank you for saying that. You offer light at the end of the tunnel, because once you achieve whatever your metric of success is, you don't have to grind the way you were doing in year 1, right? Where you sit the family down, you say, okay, mommy's going to be a little busy this year, right? And it's interesting that the more successful you become, right, the more time has value.
Yes.
When you're grinding, time is of the essence, but it's no big deal to work those 13, 14, 18-hour days because you are on the grind. And it's interesting how much more value time has the longer you are in business. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. And again, I know everyone's just like, my goal is to double and triple. I'm like, you know what? At some point, we have to decide what is success and not just more. And I learned that more is a trauma response. It's just, I'll feel secure if my business makes more money. But like, once you start to like, okay, I reached the 6 figures, or I reached the, debt free. Like, let's start to itemize out what money's going to do for us, or else we'll just be chasing. And again, my daughter was born into me. Of course, both of them were born into me being an entrepreneur, and I don't want them to have this resentment even of me because I was so grinding it out because that's what's popular, that they're like, well, we didn't have your time. You built this life for us, or you gave us material, or you whatever, but we don't have your time. So that's really my goal for the year.
Right. That's interesting because most women who happen to be moms, when they get in business, is to spend time with family. Yes. And it's not always the case when you're in the midst of growing that business. So thank you for highlighting something that we all can take note of, and that is also continue to creating that space for those family moments.
right. That's right.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit, switching gears, can you tell us a little bit about your journey? You started 9 years ago. What do you remember that growth period? What was that like for you? And how did you keep yourself motivated, to see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Good question. So I do. And I started in marketing. So
Mhm.
direct marketing was where I started, and I was successful. It was great. I hit six figures in 6 months. So it was this initial jump in, and like I'm high energy. So I'm like,
Mhm.
yes, I see the vision. I see what's going on. I know what I want. I want to go for it. I wasn't a mom yet, right? But I still was like, okay,
Mhm.
I know what I want to build. So my motivation was very much, I got out of grad school and had six figures in student loan debt looking at me,
Mhm.
right? And I had a government job that paid me 10 grand less than the previous job. So I have a
Mhm.
gap of income, all these loans, panic attack, insert here, right? And I'm like, I have a vision. Like, I see me being a homeowner. I see me taking vacations. I see me doing the things. And more importantly, my purpose. I just felt so smushed at a 9 to 5 job. So
Mhm.
that vision moved me. And it was like, I knew that I was called to entrepreneurship. When you answer that call,
Mhm.
like you said, in the grocery store, super excited. Like when you answer that call, and that, like, it's just like accounting. I need to say this. I love this analogy.
Right.
If you want to be an accountant, you just do the things accountants do. If no
Right.
one ever says, "Are you sure you're going to be a successful accountant?" Yeah, I went to school for accounting and I now work with numbers. Like, business is the same way. We treat it like it's this fairy tale
Mhm.
thing, and it's like, no, just market yourself and just have a
Right.
solid offer and get help with those things. And if you don't know it, because just like with accountants, they go to school for it, right? They learn it. Once you learn these things, you can now do it. So once you get that mystical, like, am I gonna succeed,
Yeah.
fear out of your business, and I have a solid offer and I'm going to market it. I'm going to sell when I meet people. Like, if you are willing to do those three things, you will succeed. So I knew that, and that was the motivation of, like, I'm learning this thing. I am naturally good at marketing, thank God, but I'm going to learn how to sell. I'm going to learn how to solidify my offer so I can just go. So I started product based, health and wellness based, and as you know, I'm an entrepreneur, so I've sold tons of stuff, and I'm grateful for
Right.
it. But that was definitely what kept me focused, of like, please shut out people who are like, how do you know you're going to make it, and shut yourself out. If I can shut
Mhm.
out, you will, if you decide to do it.
No, that's incredible. And I just want to circle back and highlight that you started in direct marketing in a field where it's like winning the lotto, right? Less than 1% actually make a sustainable living off of it. And you were able to do that in 6 months. What is your process to set yourself up for success? How are you able to map that out?
So it honestly, this is the same thing I teach, and because I do it over and over again, I rinse, wash, and repeat. So I say, okay, I did it in direct marketing. Let's keep going. And I've done
Mhm.
e-commerce, I've done coaching sales, I've done
Right.
agency sales, and now I'm a copywriting agency owner. So, like, whatever business I go in, I take the same formula. So I have what I call a core four, and this is what you take with you wherever you go. Audience is first. I really focus, or I think every night, and of course Instagram's way different now, but I would not go to sleep until I had 100 new followers. So that was like a focus, and I was like, okay, because I knew that there was no business without the people, and I think we are, again, you don't need to have 10K followers to make money. Yes,
Right.
God, for sure, but if you have no growth plan, there is no money growth to be
Right.
had. We can't
Right.
run to the same 100 people all year and have a 6K, I'm sorry, a six-figure year. So that was my focus, was the actual audience growth. Second was content, of course.
Mhm.
Creating storytelling content is my forte. So being able to say, okay, I'm not just posting, but I'm creating content, copy. I'm a copy girl, creating the copy that makes people stop, read and identify with what I'm offering. That was 2.
Mm-hmm.
3 was, again, that coffee date, that relationship building. So it could be a phone call. It could be the email marketing. I've done all of these things. Facebook groups are dope. Facebook groups are definitely a version of coffee dates, but making sure I had a way in which to nurture these leads. That's what I would say. Once they came in, and not expecting, because I'm excited that they're going to convert right now. I had to have a way, a crock pot, if you will. Where do your leads go when they are interested but not cooked? And the follow-up process, right? So once you know who's really interested, are you communicating with them regularly? You mentioned earlier, I don't want to bother people. Like, maybe never stops and asks, am I bothering Patrice today? No, I opted into this email list. If they have a sale, they're going to tell me. If they are excited about something, an announcement or whatever, they're going to tell me. You guys are a brand. And when we separate our feelings from our business, my business coach is so good about this. She's like, your business is its own entity. You know, give your business what it needs. Don't look at it as, well, how I'm feeling. Like, no, your business requires follow-up. Are you doing that? So figuring out how that's on brand for you. But those 4 things, I launched with those things and took that with every business thereafter.
Wow. Oh, you were just going to turn off my camera real quick.
Sure.
I need to adjust, and I don't want to. But how important is a business coaching?
Oh no! So you're breaking up. Hopefully, you can still hear me, but you just froze on me. Okay.
Uh-oh.
That sounds better. I think we're good. Okay. Oh, maybe not. Okay. I can hear like your voice, like one every like.
My earlier question was, you mentioned you had a coach. Can you tell us a little bit about how important that is for the overall growth of your business?
Yes, I can. And hopefully I caught, like, I think the camera like caught up, so I heard what you said, but hopefully you can still hear me. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Well, I'll answer the question. So business coaching is a game changer. So in terms of just me, the person, motherhood, I am really passionate about conscious parenting. And that's like a side note, right? So I'm really passionate about that. And when it comes to parenting and like me learning, relearning how to parent. Not just parenting the way that, like, even my mom was amazing and my dad was amazing, but this still, like, how can I be better for my children? We realized that I have to be willing to be taught. There's something that I do not know. And if I'm operating off of what I know, I can get to a certain point and that's fine, but there's something in the next level that I don't know. And so many entrepreneurs subconsciously will limit themselves because they're afraid of what's on the other side. I don't know what's going to happen if I become successful and broke. What's going to happen if I don't insert whatever, right? And if we think about it long enough, we will self-sabotage. So that business coach really is that guy. Like, I'm able to give my business coach like my wildest, craziest doubts. And she's like, yeah, no, that doesn't happen actually. And like, do you know how freeing that is to have someone like breaking through that biggest fear of like, well, what if I get too overwhelmed and I don't serve my clients well? And she's like, well, you just do this. And she gives you this really simple answer, right? And like, but then she's there to help me implement it. So it's great to have that like strategy call you do when you first pop in, but to know like I can break through with her and then she can help me design the process or the shift needed to avoid my biggest fear. It's so powerful. So that's why I think business coaching is immeasurable wherever, whether it's coaching, like through parent, everything I want to be better at, I have a coach. So parenting, I want my children to be amazing. And I want to make sure that like I'm tuned into a parenting coach is going to help me ensure that my children are emotionally intelligent, kind, all the things that are on my dream board for my babies. But the same for my business, right? I want to make sure that wherever I want to see growth, that I'm not just sitting with my thoughts, assuming I know it all. Someone's helping me debunk my own lies about my capacity or business or whatever, and helping me overcome those.
I agree with you 1010%, especially around the fact that it's so valuable. It's invaluable at any stage of your business, right? If you have dollars, allocate them to how you're going to grow, because you're absolutely right. You can only grow yourself so far. You only know this, you only know what you know. And it takes an outside influence to grow that knowledge, or at least point you in the right direction.
Right.
And it is so true what you mentioned earlier about self-sabotage. So many people will inadvertently pull themselves out of the game, whether it's procrastination, whether it's oversleeping or missing a meeting, and not following up, right? There's so many different aspects and ways people can self-sabotage their success. So thank you for pointing it out. You aren't holding anything back today.
That's right.
So how has COVID, if at all, impacted your business?
So as a mom, I definitely would say that's been the biggest challenge. So my youngest daughter was born in February. She was born literally days before the country shut down. So that in itself, it is a challenge. My vision this year was I'm going to launch an agency, was growing, still is, but like I had to do a lot of shifting because I thought that I'd be with my mom a whole lot, right? And she'll be 55 next month. I've not interacted with her a whole lot. So that support system that we thought we'd have as parents to a new baby, that does not exist. School closed down for my daughter, a month later. So that process of like, I'm going to work my business and I'm going to have my mom help with the baby, and then my daughter's going to go to school, all the things that we planned for. So in that aspect, I definitely want to say like that has been a real thing. In terms of growth, of course, there were so many entrepreneurs that were awakened, entrepreneurs that got a new drive. So in terms of influx of clients, thank God that did not change. But my mental health took a really big hit after my biggest month. I had hit my biggest month and literally was like crashing because postpartum is happening and pandemic, stress is happening and growth is happening. And I'm realizing that like, I can't operate the way I would if it was a regular year. I have to give myself grace. So I actually started to offboard clients. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm not well. And I've experienced burnout before. So I'm like, no, not right. Right. So having to make really, really tough decisions about how can I, again, be present for my babies and not be irritable and not be, super tired and not be up from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. to get work done because I'm with them during the day. Like, that's how COVID definitely has impacted my business. And yeah, going into a new year, it's a blessing in a sense because, again, this 4-hour work week is real. We don't get to decide when the pandemic happens. We don't get to decide when our babies go through growth spurts or just need extra loving. We don't decide when our husbands decide, like my husband's business is taking off right now. Like I need to make sure I give him space to grow. I'm not like, we're not just passing hot potato baby back and forth to get things done. So really just overall holistically looking at our lives and saying, what do we need and where do we need it? And what do I want? And what I want does not right now in this space correspond with the highest grossing ever. It's how can I implement this 4-hour work week, hit my income goals and go home? Like that's where I have to give myself grace.
No, and thank you for sharing that. A lot of people, I don't have statistics, but it seems a bit taboo to talk about postpartum, right? And how that impacts our business. I suffer from postpartum anxiety, and COVID did not help. We had, like you said, your tribe shrank. My tribe is, it became non-existent because of COVID. And then, subsequently we moved overseas for my husband's work. So yeah, so I'm thankful that you, in your space have shared with us that, you also are experiencing those same issues. It just further shows that, we can go through all of this and end up all right on the other side, right? But we have to give ourselves grace. So
we see a lot online, about you gotta take inventory is the best thing I can say. Inventory and like non-judgmental inventory, because I'm forever like, well, girl, you should be doing more. Like you've done more before, but no, I've never been through a pandemic before. We're hold some space for that.
Right. You mentioned the pandemic, but we've also had a lot of social unrest this year. How has that impacted your business?
That is a really interesting question, because we as African Americans wear so much trauma, and we're expected to just go back to work and just go back to normal. And George Floyd really was like oh wait, like I'm gonna put my computer down. And I remember it was like a 6-day window of me just like needing to sit with that, because I knew that I didn't know it was gonna create the social change, if you will, if that's the change. But like it started to create conversation. But even when it happened, part of me was like, it's not going to change anything. And I was like, oh my gosh, am I getting like hopeless? Like, am I starting to experience true despair around this? And like, let me unpack that. So luckily my clients were in the same space, and like we have really good conversations. But like overall, even yesterday, I was not productive yesterday. And even I tell myself, like, I know to expect this, and this is just the country we live in, and this is the nation of people that we are amongst. It's still something that you have to, like, again, hold space to say, just like you would call out if your child was sick from school, like I guess kind of like what you got to give yourself, or figure out how to run a business that allows that. And again, that 4-hour work week means this, I don't get to choose when, the nation starts to indirectly or directly, traumatize Black people. I don't get to choose when that happens. So, yeah, that's a real thing. How did it impact you?
Well, at the height of it, back in the summertime, of course, like that image of George Floyd broke my heart. And, I feel like when Black women cry, it's not that big of a deal, right? But it really hit home in the worst way for me, because I just had my son about 6 months prior, or 9 months prior. And to think that, there are people that don't value him based on a skin color. I was just so confused by that. There's nothing. Skin color is that traumatizing for some people. The straw that broke the camel's back was yesterday. I was just like, you know what? If people don't see this double standard, then I don't know what to say.
Yeah,
right.
No, it's intentional at this point. Like you, and I'm a psychology background. You probably can hear like some of the like stuff within, but like there is no benefit for some people to see this. It costs them something. That you have people who understand that equality costs them nothing, but there are some people who truly believe that equality will cost them the edge. That privilege is an edge, and some people need it, baby girl, right? Like they just decide, if I don't have this privilege, this edge, I lose it. They already have very little, to begin with, and without privilege, well, where do I end up? So I stopped expecting people to start to validate us, because you you lose if you acknowledge that I am equal to you. And this ingrained thought process that you are superior just because you are, well, you're not. And like they got to deal with that. But like you said, for our baby, that's where I'm like, so what do I need to do? Because, at any
Right.
point in time. I don't know where this goes left, and I don't want my children to be immersed into a society where they end up at risk because of that.
Right.
That's what's frustrating for me.
Right. You know, I'll just say one more point to that. And this really, this year, this summer is the first time I've ever spoken out softly or otherwise with regards to racial inequality in the United States. And it's primarily because I've always operated in white spaces. My college is the university I went to is predominantly white. My job as a naval officer, predominantly white wardroom. Corporate America, predominantly white. So it was never, my opinions would not have been as valued or received in a way that would invoke change. We can talk all day long. You are so easy to talk to. I can see why you are so successful at social selling. We are actually at the top of our hour, but I wanted to give you additional time. What are some final words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our listeners today?
Sure, sure. So final words, we're in a new year. And I hope that there's a certain element of refreshing. Like I don't have this long, extensive 7-point goal plan. I have one goal, and that's to find and seek balance. So I would recommend to you all, get really super clear about what you want all across the board. Like dream boards are great for that. But I'm a wordy kind of girl, so I actually have dream words. How do I want to feel this year? How do you want to feel this year? How do you want your family to feel about you? We list material things as what we want, but really it's usually us chasing a feeling. And getting clear about that will help you create goals that really feel good. Because I've had goals, y'all. I'm going to make $50,000 a month this month. And I felt miserable the whole 30 days and then didn't hit the goal and wondered why. Right? I didn't feel good. It was just a monetary thing so I could impress somebody online. Like I've had months, this is transparency. So now that I'm getting clear about what do I want, I feel so much more excited about the year, so much lighter, right? And I can just go and be, and that's what I want for y'all too. So hopefully that's helpful or insightful.
Patrice, thank you so much for joining us. You've dropped so many gems. I'm going to replay this myself because I know there's some things that can benefit all the entrepreneurs that are watching.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I hope your baby stays asleep. Mine is now, so thumbs up, and I will see you soon.
All right. Take care. All right. And for everyone watching, we will see you next nap time. All right.